everybody. It's been some time since I put up a video. It's been quite a busy summer for me, and so I have been to a number of states that I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to do a quick run through. I have, once I left Kansas, I went into Colorado, up to New Mexico, back down through Colorado, all the way up to Wyoming, over through Nebraska and Iowa, and I saw many sights and sounds that I'm going to share with you today. All right, first up is Taos, New Mexico. I met up with my dear friend since 10th grade, Leighanna. She is an artist, lives in Taos, has for many years, and we had a wonderful time. We went to a powwow. As an artist, we got to meet some of her artist friends, and she even held a party while I was there. We also went up to the ski area at Taos to check it out, even though it was summertime. And we did one of my favorite things, which was going to a cemetery. The cemeteries there are phenomenal and very interesting. We also spent an afternoon with her partner Tom down at the Rio Grande. It was beautiful. We went to an area that was very private and just relaxed, got in the water, and just enjoyed the afternoon. After saying goodbye to Leighanna and Tom, I headed up into Colorado to the Great Sand Dunes National Monument. I definitely recommend a visit, and if you go, bring a sled. So many people were sliding down the dunes in sleds. I fell in love with Colorado, driving all the way up through the state, and I stopped in Golden. I spent a few days at the Chief Hosa campground, which is right inside the Genesee Park, which is an amazing park with miles of hiking and biking, and they have wild bison right there in the park. Heading north out of Colorado, I went up to Laramie, Wyoming, and this is where I began learning all about the Oregon Trail and the amazing stories about the migration westward in the U.S. I stopped at the Fort Laramie National Historic Site, and then also in Nebraska, I went to Scotts Bluff National Monument as well as the Chimney Rock Historic Site. Each of these three places were so vital to the folks who traveled by covered wagon across the country. And I was told that the Chimney Rock could be seen 7 days before they actually arrived at it. So it was something they looked desperately forward to arriving at as they journeyed across the country. Today I am at a place called Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska. This place is unreal. It's a collection that a very wealthy man started collecting of early American progress through the 1800s and into the 1900s. He began this journey in 1948 collecting incredible things. I just went through the first building, and it was filled with early automobiles, and even before that, like there were at least 100 different carriages and hackneys and early hearses that would have been pulled by horses, buggies, and then it moves on to the first automobiles. And in the first building, all I saw so far were automobiles up until the 1920s. So other buildings house the others moving forward. I cannot wait to look at those. But just, I'm gonna do a quick little show of you of some of the buildings. Now I'm gonna move into some of the other buildings that house all other sorts of collections here. So far though, I am stunned and amazed at what I'm seeing. So here is just, you know, a quick overview of some of the buildings. There are actually more back behind all of these as well. So I'm really excited to see more in here, and I have a feeling that this is a place that one could spend multiple days going through. Here are just a few photographs that I took that day. The premise of the whole museum is the growth of technology in the United States from 1830 to 1985. And it's, as I mentioned previously, it's breathtaking, the scope of things that he has collected and amassed. It's not just automobiles, it's all kinds of technology that have developed throughout this time period in the United States. I literally took hundreds of pictures while I was in here, but I would just say this is some place that you might want to go check out yourself. So next up, I visited the Amanas in Amana, Iowa. The last couple of days I have been in Amana, Iowa. And before I came here, I had no idea what Amana was. I just knew that this particular campground was going to be a great stopping point between point A and point B. And when I got here, I found out so much. It's really a quite interesting place. Amana was a colony of 7 different little towns that were built back in the mid-1800s. The whole point of it was these people left Germany. They have their own religion, right? And they came here to be able to practice their own religion in the United States. So they first settled in an area just outside of Buffalo, New York. And then when their sect grew too large for the tract of land they had there, they moved out to Iowa and purchased thousands of acres. And it's interesting in so many aspects. First of all, their communal living was very successful for over 80 years. And then finally in 1932, with the advent of the Depression, with more transportation opportunities, trains coming through, cars and buses and so forth, the young people really didn't want that communal living anymore, and they really were more interested in becoming more integrated into the United States. And so they did. The communal aspect of these communities broke up. They did it quite successfully, I would say. I'm sure there were some growing pains with that. But the result now is that this is an amazing historical place where there are a number of different museums in each of the 7 different towns that make up Amana. And I have been enjoying this. So what they have done is made a wonderful bike path that people can take, which I've taken because I have my bike to travel around with. So you can travel to each of the towns. They're all a couple of miles apart. And so I've done that to, really explore and see the different parts of Amana. Another interesting fun fact about Amana is that this is the original home of Amana Appliances, Amana Refrigeration. You may recall the Amana radar range. For those of you who are of a certain age, that came out in the 1960s, and that was really the first microwave type of appliance. And over the years, Amana sold themselves to Whirlpool. So the Amana Products is a line now with Whirlpool, but right here in one of the towns in Middle Amana is a large Whirlpool factory. And that actually started back in 1934. The inventor of some of the products came from right here, and they started the Amana organization. The original church of this group was called the Community of True Inspiration. And it's interesting because obviously they wanted to have communal living, and they did successfully. Everyone had a different job. There were group kitchens rather than cooking in your own home. There were the fields, the crops. There were kitchen gardens, acres, large, in order to feed everybody. So there were a number of different job opportunities, everything you can think of that needed to be handled, especially if you think of the 1800s. So one of the things that I found particularly interesting was the cemetery. So I went to 2 of them while I was here because I like cemeteries. And what I found interesting is every single headstone is identical to the next. There was no hierarchy. Everybody was treated equally. And in the cemetery, they are all buried in chronological order of when they died. So there are no family plots. You're not buried with your other family members. You're buried with the entire community and in the order in which you die. And there are still people, obviously, today who are being buried in these cemeteries who are still a part of the church. The church is very strong still here. They simply don't have the same sort of communal living practices that they had previously. But they certainly, from being here, meeting some of the people, experiencing the museums and the shops and everyone here, I get a feeling that many of the traditions of hard work, honesty, caring are still very, very present in this Amana Colonies area. So the Amana Colonies is considered a National Historic Landmark, and they clearly put a lot of effort and money in terms of restoring the buildings. There are markers on all of the homes. There's so much that they do here to preserve the heritage of their communal living. It's interesting. I do recommend it as a place to maybe visit, especially if you're coming into Iowa. I found overall it to be a very peaceful environment, pleasant and peaceful and lovely. And yeah, I think it's definitely worth a visit to see and understand what this group experienced and how they perceived and lived in early America. I'm going to share with you pictures of some of the buildings and other places throughout here so that you can get a feel for what it's like. One of the things that I really loved on the bike path was that they have these beautiful wooden and iron bridges that span over you know, different aspects of like there's a river, there's a spillway, there's a raceway, and it's lovely to go over these beautiful old wooden bridges. I loved the bike paths, and I think it's fantastic that this community has created this wonderful path for people to walk or ride their bicycles on so that they can experience the different Amanas.